hierarchy is important, guys. It's important to have someone superior to you that knows more than you, that will guide you and order you and direct you to complete certain tasks for a common goal. Okay? But this is true only for short-term goals. And short-term is relative, all right? I'll get into that as I discuss this. Short-term is relative. It can be anywhere from 1 year to 20 years to 5 years. But the point is that that person should occupy that position for a defined or a finite amount of time. The reason this is true is because superiority in a hierarchy sense is long-term evil. Okay, if it is a setup that you're trying to maintain forever, basically, right? Like um, how organizations nowadays are sort of constructed. The inherent nature or natural structure of the organization is a hierarchy, and that is why organizations ultimately all fail, and why ultimately all their endeavors fail, all their initiatives and their vision, they never really come to fruition, and even if they do not last. All right. Now you have to understand that achieving anything in reality that doesn't last does not count as having achieved it in the eyes of God. God only sees things are that are eternal, things that are in an imperfect sense immortal. All right? That's the only things that God can acknowledge. Everything else falls short of that, and that is because it is the ratio within it between good and evil is too great in favor of evil. Look at the parent-child relationship. Okay, the parent-child relationship is one where, in accordance with the law of one, the parent and the child are actually equal in value, but there is an inequality between them, right? Inequality in terms of experience and of life, skills, and so on, cognitive ability, whatever it is, and therefore that inequality you can see it in the dependence between them, or the dependence of the child on the parent. Okay. Now, but as you see, as the child grows, ideally, what's supposed to happen is that the parent is supposed to allow for the equalizing of that inequality, for the correction of that inequality gradually as the child grows. Parents have to realize that their reign of superiority over their children is temporary, and it's meant to be temporary. In fact, not only is it meant to be temporary, its function depends on its temporary nature. And the function is to build up the child to be an equal. Parents are supposed to essentially gradually undermine their own superiority relative to their children. Gradually. Okay, they're supposed to do that gradually. They're supposed to give away that power slowly until that power is balanced between them and their children. So, meaning 50-50, meaning they're equals now when the children become adults. This is because at that point in time, the task will be done, which is you have raised the child. So now the child is equal to you, okay? And interdependent on you. Interdependent, meaning you are also now dependent on the child, and the child is dependent on you by virtue of the relationship that you share, okay? But moving away from parenting, you can also see this um, in, or you should also see this in the professional realm, where actually hierarchies are supposed to be limited to goal-oriented endeavors or initiatives or tasks. This is because at that point in time, the task will be done, which is you have raised the child. So now the child is equal to you, okay? And interdependent on you. Interdependent, meaning you are also now dependent on the child, and the child is dependent on you by virtue of the relationship that you share, okay? But moving away from parenting, you can also see this um, in, or you should also see this in the professional realm, where actually hierarchies are supposed to be limited to goal-oriented endeavors or initiatives or tasks. As I talked about leadership before, please watch that video, okay? The mistake that we have made is in integrating hierarchy into the nature of our organizations, which is what we're not supposed to do. The nature of our organizations must be the law of one. But when we target a short-term objective, so we want to build a bridge, then what you do is you bring the best engineers in, and then you give them teams that will support them to build the bridge. In that scenario, the superiority and the responsibility and the power those engineers have over their teams, okay, is contingent upon the task being complete, or the task being ongoing, sorry, is contingent on the fact that the bridge still has to be built, okay? But when the bridge is built and it's completed, then the authority is supposed to fall away, and that sort of team, okay, is supposed to be disbanded and reabsorbed back into the society that sent them forth in the first place. But again, we do not do this. What we do is we say that because those engineers have completed building the bridge, or because we have selected them to build the bridge, they are inherently now superior. They hold positions of power within the very structure of our society. This is where things start to fall apart. Okay? Now, there's many reasons why this has happened, and I've actually gone into them in the very various videos I've made. Visit my channels and my social media to see those. So you have to understand that this is uh, a spiritual mistake we've made. It's serious. It's a mistake at the soul level or spiritual level, and it's the fundamental mistake that has poisoned every endeavor of humankind. We do not adhere by the law of one, because we've integrated. No, not integrated. We haven't integrated evil. We have literally favored evil. We're supposed to simply integrate evil, meaning we we bring it in to be a part of us without, as a manner of managing it and mitigating it. Okay, so it's basically the evil within society is supposed to be uh, like um, like how the immune system is sometimes made stronger by poisoning it with the sickness that you want it to be immune to. You inject it with the virus, and then the immune system will adapt to that virus because it understands the virus, and then it grows resilience against that virus. This is what we're supposed to do with evil. Evil is supposed to be a part of our society in that sense, not that we're supposed to be evil. I also alluded to this and I explained it in some of my discussions on the various parliamentary political parties' um, manifestos. Okay? The fundamental problem is that a politician is someone that we sent forth. We are sending them. They are serving us. They are supposed to complete a task. Okay? But because of the various problems, our disunity because of what's happening in the homes, because of our disregard of God, because we don't know that we know God, therefore we don't know God. Okay? We forget who we are relative to the politicians, or we are ignorant to who we are relative to the politicians. We start worshiping the very people we send to serve us. This is why politics has problems. We are the problem, not the politicians per se. They are just part of the problem. But the problem is fundamentally us. It comes from us. What we are supposed to be doing is sending politicians off, giving them people who will work for them for as long as the task needs to be completed. Now, obviously, we have to have deadlines and such things because we can't have a task ongoing forever. Okay, so we have to give them a finite time to complete the task, during which they will supervise and oversee and have superiority and responsibility over the people that we have given them. Those people are basically some of us who will work for the politicians. Okay, now when the task is done, the politician stops being a politician as far as that task is concerned and just becomes a normal member of the community again. Now, the next time the politician wants to go back and and occupy such a position again, they would have to be selected again for another task that needs to be done in the short term. A task, and these tasks are tasks that are supposed to be benefiting the community, benefiting the people that send them. Okay, so what do you have? You have a superior structure of everybody, okay, in the community. And then that superior structure sends out a substructure, an inferior structure of a small task team made up of members of the superior structure, of which at the superior structure level, everyone is equal. Every individual is equal. There are no superiors. Okay? And I'm talking equal in value. Obviously, we're always going to be different in terms of skills and vocational ability and whatnot. Okay, but that inequality of skill is supposed to show in the substrate in terms of when we allocate people to do tasks. Some people are good at being mechanics, so they are going to be in charge of mechanical teams that are meant to build whatever it is that's meant to be built in the short term. Once they're done that mechanic and his team of sub mechanics or lesser known or lesser able mechanics go back into the original superior substrate of everyone in the community, and they just become a normal member of the community. This is how actually our organizations are supposed to work. Now, with this coming election year, or this is the election year. So, with this election year, keep in mind that for as long as two things, we do not know God, okay, then the problem that I'm telling you with regards to our misunderstanding of leadership and our misapplication of responsibility and power will continue, because that comes from us defying and being ignorant of God. We have to fix that, and it has to be fixed in the homes. I've already discussed this. Every individual has to reconsider the importance of the relationship, meaning all relationships in their lives, and they have to put the relationship before any other consideration, meaning anybody that you relate with, you need to consider the health of that relationship as your utmost highest priority. All right? Once you do that, everything else will fall into place. The ideas and solutions on how to solve whatever material problems we face will come naturally from that healthy and positive collaboration because of those healthy relationships. But right now, as a society and as individuals, we focus too much on intellectual perspectives on these problems. We think people need education in terms of solving them. Yes, education is important, but it is not the real or the fundamental reason why these problems are not being solved. The fundamental reason is spiritual, hence emotional, because it all goes back to the relationship and it all goes back to the home and what's happening. What is the health of relationships in the home?